and see if and hopefully get through a whole class without Zoom cutting out. We can get this one out there for Annette. But welcome, welcome. Thank you all for coming. It is Thursday. We are going to stick with our strength building day. Planning for a little extra floor work and just options. Anytime we're in plank, options to do those. We'll do the 6 today, the 6 extra mountain climbers, 2 down the middle, 2 to the elbow, and then 2 across to opposite elbow. Just a little extra core to add in there in our flows. We will still start getting to wiggle out our sitting bones, elongating the spine, taking a couple moments to come to the breath. Deepening the inhales, extending the exhales out just a tad longer. And as we begin to settle in with this conscious breathing, we're going through our little checklist: the tall spine, chin parallel, shoulders relaxed and down, finding that upright position, maybe placing palms up. Settle in, have to step into the present moment. The breath work I like to offer today is the box breathing. We're picturing a square in our mind's eye, 4 equal sides, and for these we'll inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. I'll just count us through the first 2 rounds and then invite you to count silently to yourselves, make any adjustments, or drop the counting altogether and just feel it. Take a couple rounds, make it your own. On our next inhale, inhaling deeply for 3, 2, 1. Hold for 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling here deeply for 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Exhaling, 3, 2, 1. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling here and counting silently to ourselves. And feeling absolutely free to make any adjustments. Finishing up last round. Eventually returning to the natural rhythm of the breath. And on your next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hands to heart center. And again, inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hands coming down to heart center. And from here, we're finding our black straps, unwinding those, and we're just setting those across the lap for now. And returning our hands to just above our knees. Coming back to that natural rhythm of the breath. All in our focus, our attention to those inhales and exhales, and staying with your breath on your next inhale. We're squeezing shoulder blades together, raising the gaze. And then as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, shoulder blades pulling apart. And then again, inhaling all the way through that cow stretch. And extending that exhale all the way through that cat back stretch. And taking a couple more at your pace. Connecting your breath with your movement. Always try to warm up the spine 6 ways: forward and backward, or side bends, or twists. Just taking about one more round. One last exhale, pausing on that last exhale with that chin tucked, spine rounded, shoulder blades pulling apart. And then on your next inhale, we're returning to that tall neutral spine, grabbing the strap, and using as much length as we need, bringing that up overhead. And then we're going to start out just with that exhaling right onto that side bend. And when we find our edge, then using that right arm, pulling the right arm down, getting that little extra stretch in the left shoulder. And then your next inhale, we're inhaling both arms back up overhead. And then as we exhale, side bend left. Find your edge. Where are you comfortable in this side bend? And once you find it, little tug on that strap. And definitely staying in our 60 to 70% effort. Just warming up here. And next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. From here, checking our tension on the strap, giving ourselves a little more slack maybe, and then we're coming behind the shoulders. And then all the way up overhead and taking 3 or 4 of these. And still that option to connect breath with movement. We were inhaling as we bring it back. Exhaling as that strap returns to the front, taking one more round here. And next time we're bringing them in front, we're pausing at shoulder height. Taking another breath in, sitting tall, then with tension on that strap. As we exhale, we're twisting right, gazing over the right shoulder, maybe stretching out the eyes as well. Gazing as far right as we can. Can we see all the way behind us? And then your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. And then as we exhale, taking that twist left, gazing over that back shoulder. Maybe looking out the left corner of the eyes. And then your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. And then from here, deciding if we want to shorten that strap a little bit. We're coming back to the shoulders. Next inhale, straps up overhead. And this time we're looking for that sticky spot. Just beginning to find it, beginning to pinpoint it. Just recognize where it's at. Taking these as slowly as we need. And then taking one more round, one more time, bringing those arms all the way up and over. And then as we return, we're pausing with arms up overhead. Taking another breath in, lengthening. And then as we exhale, side bend right. Maybe noticing a little more range of motion this time. When we find that edge, pull that right arm down. That little extra stretch in that left arm, our balance of ease and effort. And then your next inhale, we're rising up. And exhale, side bend left. Find your edge and then pull that left arm down. And your next inhale, rising back up. Tall neutral spine. As we exhale, arms coming down to shoulder height. Another breath in here. And then exhale, twisting right, gazing over right shoulder, maybe stretching out the eyes as well. Find the next stretch. Maybe work the eyes a little. And then your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. Back to that neutral spine. And then as we exhale, taking that twist left. Maybe find that shoulder stretch or neck stretch, gazing over the left shoulder. And then your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling, pausing right here. One more time with the shoulders, maybe scooting that strap in a little bit more. Then we're bringing that up overhead and back behind us and pausing right at that sticky spot and then playing right there. Little pulses up and down right in that sticky spot. Just one more breath here. And then eventually on our next exhale, strap coming all the way up overhead. Resting that down and then rolling the shoulders. And reverse. Bringing the hands to stillness. Your next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hands coming down to heart center. And then from here, we're making our way to standing, setting our straps to the side. We'll use those later. And choosing our props at the top of the mat, maybe the chair, the seat facing us, all four legs on the mat, maybe blocks. Up there, where do we want to place our hands today? For those down dogs, for those planks. And then we're making our way into the mountain pose. Bringing feet hip distance apart and starting out, maybe eyes closed or soft gaze downward here. Begin to feel the mat beneath the feet. Spreading the toes wide, gripping into that. Finding that soft bend in the knees, making sure the quads are active. Tucking the pelvis in and then elongating the spine, just standing a little taller as if someone was the string at the top of our head and they just pulled it up. And shoulders relaxed and down. Hands and fingers just floating. Taking one more big breath in here, filling belly, ribs, and chest, deep 3-part breath. Slowly releasing on the exhale. And then your next inhale, we're inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, and then just let it go, just hanging out. Gravity taking over, just warming things up, loosening things up. Checking in with your body. How are you feeling? Maybe we're playing with putting weight in the heels, weight in the toes, maybe grabbing opposite elbows, swaying back and forth. Maybe enjoying some stillness here. Watching the fingers sink a little lower with each exhale. We have that opportunity, use that breath, use that time under tension, create some space. Let the vertebrae expand. On your next inhale, we're ragdolling up, soft bend the knees. We're leaving everything dangling, slowly uncurling the spine, one vertebrae at a time, shoulders, neck, head. Last thing to arrive back in mountain pose. Exhaling, relaxing shoulders back and down. Inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right, pressing hips up and back. Finding that downward dog, a big stretch here, big breath in. And as we exhale, letting it go, we're pressing away through the palms, letting that head dip down, finding that little shoulder stretch. Hips are raised up towards the ceiling. Maybe we're pedaling out the feet. Maybe we're bending one knee, dropping the opposite heel. And then on your next inhale, we're floating out to plank. And we're pausing right here. Nice long line, heels to the crown of the head, pressing away through the palms, shoulder blades pulling apart, core is engaged. And we're going to find those 6 mountain climbers. We're going to start off knee to elbow for 1 and 2, knee to nose, 1 and 2, and cross it over, opposite knee, opposite elbow, 1 and 2, and then exhaling, hips up and back. Downward dog, another big breath in here. And out. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees. We're slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. And next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up, maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. 1 breath in. And return to mountain. Taking 1 cleansing breath here, staying with your breath on your next inhale. We're inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, place the hands, right foot steps back, followed by the left, pressing hips up and back. Downward dog, another big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, right leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose, stepping it through. Now we can leave that foot pointed right down the middle. If we're using blocks of the mat, if we're using a chair, we're going to angle that foot out a little bit, making some room for our knee. On our inhale, we're dipping in to that right knee, raising the gaze, squeezing shoulder blades as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, straightening that right leg, and taking 2 or 3 or more of these. Connecting your breath with your movement or holding. If that hamstring stretch is really speaking to you today, stay there for a breath or 2, or we like working that knee, that inner thigh. Feel free to hold that one as well. And finishing up our last round, we started with that inhale 1 more time, exhaling into that cat back stretch, straightening that right leg, maybe raising the toes up. And then your next inhale, we're returning to that high lunge base, dropping that right foot down, coming up onto the toe pads of the left. And then on an exhale, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then option for a flow, inhaling out to plank. Pausing here, maybe taking those mountain climbers, elbows, knee to elbow for 2, knee to nose for 2. And then cross it over for 2. 1 more big breath in. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering, elbows brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that upward dog, dropping the hips, raising the gaze, exhaling, hips up and back. Downward dog, another big breath in. And out. Next inhale, left leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose, stepping it through. If we're choosing that chair option, angle that foot out. And then next inhale, bending into that left knee. Finding that cow stretch with the torso as we exhale, cat back stretch, straightening left leg. Maybe raising the toes on that left leg and then taking 3 or 4 more of these. Again, exploring any part of this motion. Making this your own. And one more round here. On our next exhale, pausing in that hamstring stretch. Maybe bending and straightening that left knee. Letting the head dip a little lower. And then next inhale, we're rolling the feet forward. Left foot finds the mat. Right heel raises up. Then on an exhale, left foot steps back to meet the right. Pressing hips up and back. Downward dog. A big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Then option to flow. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Pausing here, maybe finding those mountain climbers, knee to elbow, knee to nose, and then cross it over. And staying with your breath, your next exhale, slowly lower elbows, brushing the rib cage. Inhaling, dropping the hips, raising the gaze, find that upward dog. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog, big breath in. Exhaling, let it go. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees, slowly walking feet up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. The next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up, maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. And again, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right, pressing hips up and back. Finding that downward dog, inhaling, right leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping it through. And floating the hands, finding our base. Do we have any room to walk that back foot back? Finding our edge. And then on an inhale, we're slowly rising into that high lunge. Exhale, we're sinking in here. Another breath in, lengthening. Finding that reach, finding that extension, finding that strength all the way through the fingers. And then we're going to do a couple knee dips. We can keep our hands up high. There's option to bring the hands down to the hips as well. Seeing what we're comfortable with. And then on our exhale, we're just slowly dipping down. Doesn't have to tap, rising back up. And two more times. Exhale, slow dip, and rise up. One more time. Dip that left knee down, rise back up. And from here, arms settle, inhaling, both arms up, maybe finding that crescent lunge, that slight back bend. And then as we exhale, slowly lower with control. Frame in the front foot. When our hands arrive, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhaling, let it go. Then option to flow, inhaling out to plank. Maybe find those mountain climbers, elbow to knee, knee to nose. And then cross it over for two. Big breath in. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale. Down dog. Big breath in. And out. Next inhale, left leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose. Stepping it through. Just flowing the hands, engaging the core, rising on an inhale. Sinking in as we exhale. Wonderful. We're up on the toe pads, knee over ankle alignment on the left foot, right foot high up on the toe pads. Maybe walking that right foot back. Finding that length, finding that strength all the way through the fingertips. And then your next exhale, maybe we drop the hands, maybe we leave them up and we dip that right knee down. And then rise back up 2 more times. Exhale, dip down. Rise up 1 more time, dip down. And rise up. Exhaling, we're sinking in. Maybe finding that slight back bend. And then on an exhale, slowly lowering with control. Using that core, using that back strength. Hands arrive, left foot steps back to meet the right, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, a big breath in.
Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, floating out to plank. And pausing here, engaging the core. And then maybe we're going to add 3, just an option, not a have to. We're going to attempt to add 3 little push-ups. Slowly lower elbows, brushing the rib cage, and then rising back up for 1 and 2 and 3. Press away through the palms. Maybe find those mountain climbers, knee to elbow, knee to nose, and then cross it over. Another big breath in. And then as we exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog, another big breath in. And out. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees, or slowly walking feet up. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. And next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up all the way to maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. 1 breath in. And return to mountain. I'm pedaling the feet out. Slowing down the breath. Maybe closing the eyes. And that soft gaze downward. As we find that mountain pose again, that strong, sturdy mountain pose. Feet rooting down. Slight bend in the knees, pelvis tucked in. Shoulders relaxed and down. If the eyes are closed, we're going to flutter them open. Find that spot on the floor. Weight goes into the right foot. And then we're kickstanding the left. And we're finding that tree pose. Maybe raising the sole of the foot up a little higher. Tongue finds the roof of the mouth. Steady gaze, steady breath, steady body. And next exhale, slowly lower with control. Pedal the feet out, weight into the left foot. Locking the gaze, and then we're finding that maybe starting with that kickstand with the right. This is the tree pose. Tap those right toes up and down. We can raise that right foot up. Calf, the knee, the thigh. We can grow our tree. Our branches grow however we wish. And then next exhale, slowly lowering with control. Pedaling the feet out. And then from here, we're going to come off of our mats. We're going to find our wide leg base. Oh, I just mean feet coming off the mats. Finding the wide leg base, hands on our hips here. And then as we exhale, we're beginning to lower down. Back flat as we do, hands finding our props, chairs or blocks, heels in, toes out. And then into those hips and knees one more time, bending into one knee. Raising the toes up on the opposite leg, and then we can take this very stretchy, using the props. Can walk our hands along the floor, bending into one knee, straightening the opposite leg. If we want to add a little strength building to this, we bring our hands to heart center and play into this motion just using the hip flexors, not using the hands. Really, we're just getting whatever benefits out of this we can. The strengthening, the stretching, the knee mobility, the inner thigh stretch, and evening out both sides, finding stillness down the middle, beginning to place our hands, heel toe our feet in, and then we're just briefly coming down through the mat, through squat. Heels are in, toes are out still. Lowering down, just taking a breath or two here to pulse up and down, wiggle side to side, and then eventually coming down onto our bums. The legs out front, blocks by the ankles, and we're in that staff pose. Just sitting upright with legs extended out in front. And then we're going to do those heel taps here. So for the heel taps, just one at a time, tapping the block. You're welcome. And then tap outside the block, tap the block, tap in. We're going to go for 12 of these. Tap the block, tap outside, tap, tap in for one, and then switching sides. And if we want to add a little stretch to this, we can see how far wide we can get those legs. Just for fun. We're going to come back to the thighs again, so definitely not a have to. Maybe two more each side. Definitely making sure we even out both sides. Excellent. Finishing that out. And then from here, we're adding a little bend in the knees. And then we're beginning to place our elbows down. And then we're kind of wiggling right onto the lumbar. Wiggle that out. We want that low back nice and flat. And then we're starting with right leg, extending right leg up. And now we're just raising that up to bring the knees to equal height. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Lowering that right leg down, bending that knee, setting that on the mat, switching sides, extending that left leg long, and then lower and raise. Knees meet the knees. We don't have to go higher. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Bend the knee, lowering that right foot down. And now kind of like our half move. We're gonna come back to the right foot. We're gonna extend that out, and then we're gonna twist that toe out to the side. And now we're gonna do those same leg raises. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Setting right foot down, left side, extend the leg out, toes angled out to the sides, and then 12 little raises. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and slowly lower. Back to the right foot. Right foot extended out. This time we're going to stay above the knee. Raise it up and little pulses staying above the knee. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Drop right foot down, extend left leg long, keeping it high. 12 pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Slowly lower. From here, we're coming on to either side, left or right. We're turning to face the mirror first. Turn to face the mirror first. And we're coming to that shoulder, elbow under shoulder position. Kind of like how we do for our obliques, but here we're going to start off, instead, we're going to keep that bottom hip down, and we're just going to open up the legs, raise that top leg, and slowly lower for 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Excellent. Extend that leg long. And then top leg is raising up straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And switching sides. Coming on to opposite side, elbow under shoulder. Hips, knees, ankles stacked, hand on the hip. And then kind of like, what is this one called? Like the clam. Opening the legs up and closing like the clam for 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Taking a quick breather, extending that top leg long. And then 12 more here, raising that leg up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Coming back onto that seated position. Soles of the feet come together. And knees fall out to the side and palms make their way to the toes, and we just lean the head forward, letting the knees fall out to the side. This is the butterfly or cobbler. And then from this one, we kind of flap the wings, flap your butterfly wings with the knees bouncing a little up and down. Just looking for a little release here. And the next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. Grabbing one of our blocks. We adjusting our bums a little bit with that block in between the hands. Not a rowboat this time. We're just slowly lowering, keeping that block squeeze. And slow as we can, 1 vertebra at a time, lowering down to the mat. And then setting that block to the side. Extending legs long, arms out by our side, palms are down. And we're gonna find some double leg lifts here. On our inhale, both legs raise up and we gaze towards the navel, slightly raising the shoulders, neck and head, and then slowly lower. And then up for two. And lower. And up for three. And lower. And four, maybe feet stay hovering here. And five. And one more time up for six, holding here. And then legs come apart into a V. And bring them back together for one. And two. And three. And four. Five. And six. And slowly lower. Bending the knees, soles of the feet on the mat. Maybe find a double knee hug here. Maybe some windshield wipers. What do you need? Take a breath or two. Roll it out. And eventually returning. Soles of the feet to the mat. And we're interlacing fingers and we're bringing our hands behind our head. Beginning to kind of extend the legs a little bit long. Still slight bend in the knees. And then here we're going to do opposite knee, opposite elbow. One at a time, floating the legs. And then elbow to knee, extend, opposite leg out long. Bicycles. Uh, Maybe two more each side. Even it out and slowly lower. Find that block. Block goes in between the thighs. Arms are out to a T. And giving that block a nice tight squeeze, we're going to float the feet. And then as we exhale, we're twisting right, gazing left. And then maybe first option, legs can hover here. We're in a twist, but we're trying to fire up the core. We're trying to fire up those obliques, maybe extending the legs long as well. And a lot of our folds, we let gravity do the work here. We let it add a little bit of work, but if we relax the face, we unclench the teeth, relax the eyes and the jaws, bring our attention, bring our focus, bring our awareness back to the breath. That can help us. That will carry us through. Keep your attention there just for one more big breath in and out. And then next inhale, bending the knees, and we're using the core, bringing the knees up over the hips. Give it a little wiggle, wiggle that out. And then on your next exhale, we're twisting left, gazing right. Maybe we add that kick out. Maybe extend those legs long. We did 60. We're going 60 seconds on this side. Let your breath work for you. Just a little bit longer. One more big, long, deep breath in and out. And next inhale, we're bending the knees, using the core. Knees come over the hips, remove the block. Pull it in, double knee hug, baby, happy baby, roll it out. Release any tension, a little self massage, get a nice imprint of the spine on the mat, a little side to side. Maybe work the length of the spine. And then from here, we're eventually releasing the knees, feet are finding the mat, grabbing the block once again. Up overhead, and we're trying to find that reverse boat. We took that slow boat down. Let's see if we can slowly raise back up. Full body stretch here, toes pointed, arms extended, and we're using that block kind of like a pendulum, bringing that forward towards the knees, towards the feet, and slowly raising up. And then when we do, swinging our legs around back and coming down onto our tummies. We got to stretch the core out with some back bends. We're going to bring palms mid-chest. Walk the legs long. We're going to find a couple rounds of baby cobra here. Legs extended long, tops of the feet on the mat. On inhale, we're going to press down on the feet, raise the kneecaps, peel a couple ribs off the mat. Gaze is down, neck is in line with the spine. We're kind of just staring at the floor, maybe fluttering the fingers a little bit. Just using that back strength. Your next inhale, maybe one more rib finds its way off the mat. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering. Taking a cheek, finding that neck stretch, ankles fall out to the side. Returning chin to the mat. Extending arms long. Then we're going to wiggle our hands underneath our thighs. Find that length in the legs. And then on an inhale, we're floating the feet. We're pointing the toes. We're reaching. We're finding that extension. Then maybe adding a little height, raising the feet up a little higher. Maybe peeling one more rib off the mat. Maybe relaxing the face. Maybe we're adding that little smile. One more breath in here. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering, taking opposite cheek, ankles falling out to the side. We're wiggling our hands out. Keep it in long by our side by bringing the palms down. Maybe find our way onto our fingertips. Bringing the chin back to the mat, walking the legs long, stretching those toes out. On an inhale, full locust, feet hover. Arms hover, peel a couple ribs off the mat. Gaze is still down, neck still in line with the spine. Can we find a little more height? If we have that length, can we raise the feet up? Can we raise the arms, the shoulders up just a little bit higher? And then your next exhale, we're slowly lowering with control. Taking a cheek, ankles falling to the side. Returning chin to the mat. We're going to finish up our back bends with a second locust or bow pulling. If you can bend the knees and make contact with the tops of the hands, I invite you to do a bow pose. If we're doing that second locust, we're still walking the legs long, finding that length, and then on an inhale, we're floating the feet, floating the arms. And that bow pose, as we inhale, we're kicking the feet into the hands, using that leg strength, create that back bend. Either way, neck is in line with the spine, gaze is down. Maybe we're adding little smiles on our face, and then next inhale, we're raising up just a little bit higher. And then as we exhale, slowly lowering, taking opposite cheek, ankles falling to the side. And from here, as we begin to make our way back to seated, we're going to roll onto our favorite side. Resting our cheek on our bicep, curling the knees in, and then we're here pressing ourselves up to seated, swinging our legs around front. And again, for the forward fold today, intuitive movement. So I want to If there's something in that wide leg, if you like that side bend or the cross stretch, find that. If you like the legs closer together, coming down the middle, we're going to do 90 seconds here. So if you want to cross it over, I'll cue us when we're 45 seconds through to switch sides. Or if we're going right down the middle, 45 seconds in, we'll deepen. But from here, finding where we want our feet this morning today. And then on our next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, we're taking that stretch. Excellent first 45 seconds. We're focused on one side or we're just deepening the breath. Beginning to let ourselves sink in. The work is done. It is stretchy time. And here on our next inhale, if we're switching sides, we're slowly uncurling. We're finding that other side. If we're going down the middle, on that exhale, we're beginning to creep forward. And no matter what options we're taking in our fold, each exhale, always that opportunity to soften in. All together on our next inhale, we are slowly uncurling, rising up one vertebra at a time, removing any props we may have been using, and then coming back to our straps. And we're going to get those on the sole of the right foot as we close with some hips, with some twisting. And when we get that strap on the right foot, we can slow the lower torso down as the right leg rises up, strap comes into the right hand, and then as we exhale, we're letting that leg fall out to the right. And here we can adjust the tension on the strap. This should be not looking for maximum intensity here. Gravity is doing the work. This is one of those time under tension, slow openers. And then your next inhale, we're raising that right leg back up towards 12 o'clock, moving the straps into the left hand. And then as we exhale, we're twisting left, maybe gazing right. And again, we can adjust that tension on the strap. Maybe bending, straightening that knee, maybe adjusting that hip position. Is that right hip completely stacked on top of left? Do you notice any difference if we press that right hip down towards the mat? Everybody is different. Explore these stretches. Find that perfect spot for you. And your next inhale, that right leg begins to rise back up towards 12 o'clock. And as we exhale, we're slowly lowering down to meet the left, stepping into the strap with the left leg, raising that up. Strap comes into the left hand. And as we exhale, letting that leg fall out to the side, playing into that tension on the strap.
On your next inhale, that left leg begins to rise back up towards 12 o'clock as we move the strap into the right hand. And as we exhale, twisting right, maybe gazing left, making those slight adjustments. Your next inhale, that left leg begins to rise back up towards the ceiling. And then as we exhale, we're slowly lowering that left leg down to meet the right, stepping out of the strap, bending the knees, working to find those windshield wipers. Letting knees fall left and right. And then at this time, taking any other final stretches, final poses, double knee hug, full body stretch, anything at all. Take this opportunity to get that last little bit of tension out. Feel free to make your way into your version of Shavasana or finding an inversion. Finding a restful position. Maybe bringing the awareness, intention, the thoughts back to the breath. An opportunity to observe the rise and fall of the chest. All the airs and enters, exits the nostrils. And detecting any tension. Just send that mental message. Relax that part of the body. Beginning to deepen the breath. Maybe taking a deep 3-part breath here. Feeling belly, ribs, and chest. Sending that exhale out to the fingers, toes. And to slowly bring movement back to the body, letting everything wake back up. Taking this time for any additional movements that might feel good for you. Another full body stretch or double knee hug. We're rolling on to our favorite side, anything at all. When you are ready, eventually making our way back up to that comfortable seated position. Closing with one final inhale, inhaling both arms up overhead, gathering new energy for the day. Exhaling hands to heart center, sealing that in, carrying that with us. And I thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to speak to me after class. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.